Hello everyone, welcome to TipLearn. Today we are going to integrate Esewa on our e-commerce project. For that we are using the PHP framework Laravel. So I have prepared here some steps. Based on this step we will be going to integrate Esewa. So without further delay, let us begin. So now let us understand every step. So firstly, step 1, our e-commerce table structure. Okay, so now we are going to understand how our table structure are. So open your database. Here you can see this. There I have made two table. One is payment table and the other one is order table. In the payment table, basically we will be focusing on this major column like reference ID, payment type, paid status, to the price. Okay, and the rest other columns are from our checkout page of our e-commerce site. Okay, so what happen is when a customer make an order, then that customer, like for example his name is Feroz Khan, and that order is of this reference ID. Okay, we are going to identify by the reference ID. So this using this reference ID we can go to our order table as well and see this ID is having ID 27 and 28. It means that two products are ordered using this reference ID. Yes, so and the product price is 1 and pretty status is 1. It means that these two products are ordered by Feroz Khan using this reference ID, and the product price was total is 1. Okay, so this much about our step 1. So now let us go to step 2. In step 2 it is saying that we are now going to understand the Esewa flow from its documentation. Okay, so now let us open its documentation. Go to esewa.com and scroll down towards its footer side, and on the right hand side we can see developers guide under the help heading. So click on this developers guide. So let's get started. Click on this button, go to ePay, and here you can see the overall documentation for integrating Esewa. Okay, and this step will be now much more larger. So let us begin. In our documentation step 2, and Esewa has given the textual description of integrating the Esewa, and as well as Esewa also has given the diagram representation of the above transitional flow. And let us understand from the diagram. And when the user choose Esewa, then request from merchant account to Esewa as payment request will be sent. Okay, and then after Esewa will give a certain kind of login form to the user, where user will follow the step of 3 and 4. That is, in the login form user will fill its information. Okay, and then after Esewa will after receiving the confirm transaction from user, Esewa will send the response code or response transaction response to the merchant, as well as Esewa will send some kind of notification for alerting the user of either the payment is successful or not, like that. Okay, and then after the process of these steps 8, 9 and 10 are done in our server side for identifying whether our payment made from Esewa is correct or not. Also we will be doing some kind of fraud detection. Okay, so 9, 8 and 10. These 3 steps are done in our server side, which we will be doing later on. Okay, so now let us understand the process of how can we implement. Before that, I will show you some demo of checkout page. This is our checkout page, and here you can see various field and some products. I have given here some static products, and total amount is rupees 1. And okay, and this project, this checkout form as well as the code is uploaded in my GitHub account, and the link is given in the description, so you can go to that GitHub and you can get access to those code, which we will be discussing later on as well. Okay, so now let us understand which sample. There are various sample given by Esewa, and we will be using JavaScript in our this checkout form, and for that we will be using the exact code given by Esewa. Okay, so now let us understand what does this JSON object having key and value is going to have its meaning. So now let us understand. Okay, what does this AMT, PSC and PDC means? Okay, in AMT we will keep the value which we get in our payment table under the column total price. Okay, PSC and PDC. PSC means product service charge, PDC means product delivery charge. We will keep the value of product service charge PSC and the value of product delivery charge PDC as 0. We will not make it empty or null. We will just pass 0. Okay, because we are not doing any kind of calculation for service charge and delivery charge in our JavaScript. For that we will do calculation in our controller. Okay, and this tax amount, this thing, okay, service charge, delivery charge and tax amount, these 3 keys will be 0. It will neither be null nor be empty. Okay, and we have to pass value as 0. It is mandatory. Okay, and for T amount, it means total amount, which will be equals to AMT. It means that we are having total price as 1 in AMT. So in TAMT, it means that total amount we will have the same value as amount. Okay, now let us understand PID. PID means the unique product ID. It means that when customer make an order in our reference ID in table payments, we have ref ID, right? This ref ID we will be passing from PID. Okay, and now let us understand SCD. SCD means the merchant ID on which when customer make payment, and after the successful payment made by Esewa, then on this merchant ID the money will be transferred. Okay, so for having this merchant ID, one must have to have merchant account, and when anyone have their merchant account, then Esewa will automatically provide unique merchant ID to that particular merchant account. For making merchant account, you have to go to your esewa.com, and yes, scroll down to the bottom of the site, and you can see here become a merchant. So you have to click on this, and then when you fill up this form, then you will be having merchant account, and Esewa will provide you merchant ID as well, okay, on that, for that particular merchant account. So SED means merchant ID, okay. So this SU and FU means, SU means success URL and FU means failure URL. When any payment made from our website and that payment was successful, then Esewa will look for SU key, and under this SQ we will be providing a successful URL on which Esewa will automatically redirect customer to that page, okay. If any kind of fraud is detected or any kind of validation error is occur while making Esewa payment by the customer, then Esewa will automatically send that customer to this URL which we will be providing under the key FU, okay. So this much all about our JSON object params, and here is one function, and we will not make this function, okay. We will just use this code in our checkout form, okay. And what does this code means? We are making a form with method post and action is path, okay. And in path we have been given the URL by Esewa. Exactly, we will not do any kind of changes, we will just use as per the documentation, okay. So this thing up to this I think you have understood already. So, and we will not do any kind of alternation, just copy this up to here, okay. And that's all for our checkout form. In our checkout form we are going to integrate this JavaScript code. And to understand more about this key and its description is given little bit down below, we will go and then after we can find out. Yes, here it is, total request descriptions, the parameter name with its description, so you can learn from it, okay. And we have to as I have already told you about this thing, PDC, PSC and tax amount, why it should be 0. You can see here, okay, all parameters are required, that is value should not be empty or null, okay. As I have told you, we will be doing any kind of product service charge, product delivery charge, tax amount from our controller, from server side, so we will send as 0, okay. We will not make it null or we will not make it empty, okay. And the next note we have to consider or we have to concern is SU and FU. For key SU and FU, our URL must start with this protocol, either HTTP or HTTPS, as you can see up like that, like this, okay. So with this we have completed the checkout form, and what code we will be using in our checkout form I have just explained those things, okay. Now let us move towards what we will be getting from Esewa when the payment is successful, okay. When the payment is made successful, then Esewa will redirect to this URL, okay. It is a successful URL which will contain as you can see, everything is not hidden, it is in get request type. Here we can see OID is equals to something else, AMT is 100 and ref ID equals to 00 something else, right. So it means that when Esewa payment is successful, obviously we are getting this URL, but what happened here is from Esewa we are getting 3 parameters, OID, AMT and reference ID, which are seen here as well, okay. And let me tell you about OID, AMT and reference ID. OID means product ID. It means that in our payment table we are having reference ID, so this reference ID means here OID, okay, and this amount equals to our total price, okay. Now reference ID means a unique reference code which is automatically generated by Esewa, so we will not be doing anything, we will just get this reference ID from Esewa, okay. And if in case of any ups and down in our code or anything else, then Esewa will give us pending or failed payment URL as like this, okay. And now as you can see in our successful payment URL, everything is on get request type. It means the customer, any customer can see the OID, amount and reference ID, so there is high chance of doing alternation in this URL, right. Customer can change the amount from 100 to less or anything. Customer can also play with OID, right. So now how can we prevent such kind of fraud? And for that we have to do server side validation, server side verification. And so now let us move towards payment verification. It is a server side verification, okay. Now for that Esewa, let us go towards the code. As we are using PHP framework Laravel, so we will use this PHP code, okay. It means that our URL will be like this exactly. We will use this URL because Esewa will do for us any kind of, and if there is any kind of fraud detection, then Esewa will automatically help us from this code. So in our data array we are having various kind of key and its value, right. For amount, what we are having here is for amount we have in here URL 100, right. We will not use this, okay. I will explain you when we go towards our code, okay, for this amount. And let us understand these three things only, okay. This RID, means reference ID, okay. This reference ID is provided by our Esewa under the response parameter ref ID, okay. And now we will receive the PID as our PID from our table is this ref ID, okay. So under this code we will just pass this array here in our call, and rest of the fraud detection, validation and verification will be performed by our Esewa. So this is the server side payment verification code, okay. And this JavaScript, yes, and this JavaScript is the code that we will be using and we will be playing with it in our checkout form. So this much all about Esewa documentation. I hope you have understood what I have explained here. If you have any confusion, then please let me know from comment, as well as you can prefer documentation. So guys, now I think I have make you understand the step 1 and step 2 clearly. Now if you have any confusion regarding step 1 and step 2, then please let me know from comment. In step 1 there is the basic understanding of how our table will be for e-commerce, and it depends based on your project requirement, okay. And for step 2 I have shown the entire flow, and that flow which was given in Esewa documentation. So now I'm going to show you about step 3. It means the normal demo of Esewa from the project which I have also uploaded in my GitHub account. For that you can visit description where I have given the GitHub link. So now let us finish step 3. Okay, so firstly, this is my fresh Laravel installation. It is Laravel 5.8, and for easy purpose I have one anchor tag as checkout form. Click on this form, and here you can see a checkout form. As per your project requirement, you can have various fields in your form. Okay, and also this is my static products with its price. For these products and their price, in any e-commerce project we will be having session. So from session you can get the products price and product name as well. But for easy purpose and as our intention is to integrate Esewa, I have given these two products with its static price. So we have total price is equals to ₹1. Okay, so now let us fill up this form. We can use form filler also. Yes, now our form is filled, and then after, yes, everything is set. Now when we click on pay with Esewa, then this kind of login form we will be having, where we can see our total amount is 1, and we have to enter our Esewa ID and password and login, and then after we will be having some OTP notification process before doing successful payment. Okay, when we cancel the form, then I have redirected towards the home page. This is our home page. Okay, so this much for our step 3. It is super short step. I think step 2 is much more larger, and in step 4 we are going to integrate Esewa in our e-commerce project from coding part. Okay, and I believe step 1, step 2 are easy to understand from the way I explain, and step 3 also make it easy to understand how we will be doing code. So now in the next video I will be going to integrate Esewa from coding part. So the next video is also given in the description. Click on that link and integrate Esewa in your e-commerce in the very easy step.